Today's movie is Orphan, released in 2009, a psychological thriller. Kate and her husband John arrive at a hospital as she is in labor. While he stays behind to sign the admission papers, she is taken inside. Suddenly, she begins to bleed heavily. Kate wakes up in an operating room, surrounded by doctors, but John isn't there. The nurse tells her that the baby was stillborn. Desperate, Kate cries, and when John enters, he acts as if nothing is wrong, recording the delivery on camera. The nurse hands her the lifeless baby, and Kate screams until she wakes up from a nightmare. She is in her bed. In the bathroom, she looks at the scar on her belly and takes a pill. The next day, she talks with her therapist, Dr. Browning. The doctor explains that such dreams are normal reactions after the loss of a stillborn child. But Kate confesses that maybe the nightmare isn't just about that, but also about the adoption she is planning. She fears she may not be ready. She also admits she thought about buying alcohol but didn't go through with it. The doctor reinforces that the decision to adopt is hers alone. Later, Kate picks up her deaf daughter, Max, from school. While driving, she gets distracted and nearly causes an accident. At home, she composes music on the piano, but becomes irritated by the sound of the ball Max is bouncing against the wall. She scolds the girl. Soon John arrives with their son Daniel, and the three of them play ball together. At night, Kate tells Max a bedtime story, remembering the baby she lost. Max asks if she will have a new sister. Afterwards, Kate talks with John. She has decided to adopt. Sometime later, they visit an orphanage. Sister Abigail welcomes them and asks them to meet the children. Kate stays on the first floor while John goes upstairs. He hears a singing voice and finds Esther, a girl, painting. Enchanted, he talks with her, soon joined by Kate and Abigail. The girl, originally from Russia, lost her family in a fire. Despite being different, she appears talented and polite. Kate and John decide to adopt her. 3 weeks later, they return to take her home. In the car, Kate teaches Esther sign language, and she quickly introduces herself to Max. The deaf girl is able to understand by reading lips. Once home, they are greeted by grandmother Barbara and by Daniel, who shows jealousy when Esther warmly hugs John. That evening, everyone gives Esther welcome gifts, except Daniel. Later, he hides in the treehouse with friends, looking at forbidden magazines. Meanwhile, Esther plays in the snow with Max. Kate confides to Barbara that she wants to go back to teaching, but the grandmother disapproves. On her first night, Esther asks to sleep with her parents, lying down beside John. The next day, she wears a frilly dress to school, becoming the target of laughter. Kate tries to dissuade her, but Esther insists there's nothing wrong with being different. Later, while playing on the frozen lake with Max, they are warned by Kate. Daniel, on the other hand, shoots a bird with a paintball gun. Esther insists that he finish it off with a rock, but when he refuses, she does it herself. Shortly after, Kate finds an old Bible in Esther's room containing a picture of a man. At school, classmates mock the girl and try to snatch the necklace she always wears. Esther reacts with a hysterical scream. Kate tries to bond with Esther, giving her a scrapbook, and Esther asks about the lost baby. Kate takes her to the rose garden where she scattered her daughter's ashes. That night, thinking the children are asleep, Kate gets intimate with John in the kitchen, but Esther catches them. The next day, Kate tries to talk with her, but Esther replies coldly, even using swear words. John, however, sees no reason for therapy. Later at the park, while John is approached by a neighbor, Esther pushes a classmate off the playground slide, breaking her leg. Max witnesses the scene but lies to protect Esther, saying the girl just slipped. Tensions rise at home. Daniel teases Esther and the parents punish him, locking the treehouse. On another occasion, Kate receives a call from Abigail and mentions her suspicions. Max, reading lips, conveys everything to Esther. That same night, the girl plays the piano flawlessly, revealing that she had pretended not to know in order to please Kate. Later, Kate and John argue, and Esther listens, satisfied. The next day, Abigail visits the Colemans and warns that something is wrong with Esther, citing past incidents. The girl overhears and manipulates Max, saying they need to get rid of the bad woman. Soon after, Esther and Max intercept Abigail on the road. Esther strikes her with a hammer and kills her, forcing Max to help hide the body in the woods and the bloody clothes in the treehouse. Daniel sees from afar and begins to suspect. When he threatens to expose her, Esther intimidates him with a scalpel. The boy wets himself in fear. At Dr. Browning's office, the conclusion is that there is nothing wrong with Esther, but rather with Kate, who is supposedly projecting maternal insecurities. John believes it. Soon the police find Abigail's body, but with no suspects. Kate researches disturbed children and discovers that there are no records of Esther in Russia. At home, Esther intentionally breaks her own arm and accuses Kate, reinforcing her role as the victim. The marriage begins to fall apart. Fragile, Kate buys wine and nearly relapses into alcoholism. Shortly after, Esther releases the car with Max inside, nearly causing an accident, but manipulates the situation to incriminate Kate. John threatens to leave her if she doesn't accept treatment. Meanwhile, Esther threatens to kill Max if she reveals anything. Daniel discovers where his sister hid the bloody clothes. When he tries to retrieve them from the treehouse, Esther sets it on fire and leaves him trapped inside. The boy falls and nearly dies but is rescued. At the hospital, Esther tries to suffocate him with a pillow, but Max calls for help. Kate attacks Esther but is sedated. Meanwhile, Esther steals her hearing aid and, at night, dresses as an adult with makeup and tries to seduce John. He refuses and promises to call the orphanage the next day. Enraged, Esther stabs him repeatedly until he dies. Max witnesses the scene. Kate, warned by a doctor from Estonia, where the Sarni Institute operates, not an orphanage but a psychiatric hospital, learns the truth. Esther is not a child. She suffers from a rare hormonal disorder that keeps her looking like a child, but is in reality a violent adult woman responsible for several murders. Kate rushes home, but it is already too late. John is dead, and Esther, now without disguise, chases Max. In the final confrontation, Kate and her daughter flee onto a frozen lake. Esther attacks with a knife, but Max fires a gun, breaking the ice. Both fall into the water. Kate fights and manages to resurface, but Esther grabs her, begging for her life. Without mercy, Kate strikes her and pushes her back into the lake, ending the threat. Orphan is a psychological thriller that blends tension, mystery, and shock while exploring deceptive appearances and hidden dangers within the family environment. The film deconstructs the idea of childlike innocence by revealing Esther as a disturbing figure, capable of manipulating and deceiving everyone around her with coldness and intelligence. This inversion of expectations grips the audience until the very last moment, maintaining an intense atmosphere of suspense. At the time of its release, the movie generated considerable controversy and division. While many praised the performances, especially that of Isabel Fuhrman, and the surprising ending, others criticized its violence and the handling of sensitive themes. Even so, it won over audiences and became one of the most talked about horror films of the decade, achieving cult status among genre fans. Among the curiosities, one stands out. Isabel Fuhrman was only 12 years old during filming, portraying a character far more complex and sinister than her age would suggest. In addition, the shocking twist ending was so impactful that it became ingrained in pop culture, inspiring memes, references, and ongoing discussions. Thus, Orphan remains an example of psychological horror capable of both surprising and disturbing, reminding us that danger doesn't always come from where we expect it.